assume if you clicked on this video, you are interested in moving to Atlanta. If you're new here, what's going on? I'm Brianna. You can call me Bree, and I'm a luxury apartment locator based in Atlanta. So if you or anyone you know is looking to move in the next 30 to 45 days, I'll leave all of my contact info down below if you want to submit an inquiry with me to find your next apartment in Atlanta. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Are we living in the city or are we living in the suburbs? I'm gonna go through the pros and the cons of both. So yeah, y'all know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into some things. Okay, so before we get into it, there are 5 things I need y'all to consider, okay? Number 1, your lifestyle. That's gonna be probably one of the biggest determinants as to whether you should be in the city or whether you should be a little bit further out. Secondly, your budget. That might be more important than the lifestyle, okay? Because it's a very big difference between living in the city and living out the city, okay, sis? Third, commute. Are we commuting to work every day? Are we working from home? Fourth, family. Do we have kids? Okay, that's a huge factor in terms of whether or not you need to be in or outside of the city, okay? Kids. And lastly, your long-term plans, your long-term goals. Okay, so now that we have all those things out the way, let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna start with the city, the pros and cons of living in the city. Okay, so first and foremost, the city is going to put you in the middle of everything. And when I say the city, because I know everybody kind of has a different definition of what it means to be in the city. So, Buckhead, Midtown, Downtown, West Midtown, and everything like immediately surrounding those things. So smaller neighborhoods like Brookwood, Grant Park, Summer Hill, Castleberry Hill. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about when I say the city. That's gonna put you in the middle of everything. So entertainment, social events, any major event that comes to the city, I can guarantee you is going to be in the city. Any sporting events, any concerts, festivals, all those things are gonna be in the city. It's probably gonna, it's gonna be at State Farm Arena, Centennial Olympic Park, like those things are in the city. So if you're thinking about like entertainment, nightlife, most of the poppin' places in the city are in the city, you know? All the places you hear people talk about are probably going to be in the city. All the places you see on TikTok for the most part are probably going to be in the city of Atlanta, in one of those neighborhoods I mentioned. Probably downtown, midtown, Buckhead for the most part. So if nightlife is important to you, if social life is important to you, if networking is important to you, I would say the city might be where you want to be, especially if you're a young professional in Atlanta. If, like I said, networking is important to you, I would recommend living in the city because that's where the young professionals are. The Beltline, Ponce City Market, all those things are in the city, babes. So if you want that lifestyle, that really Atlanta lifestyle, yeah, you want to be in the city, sis. And it's not to say that you can't commute to the city if you don't live in the city, but like it's just so much easier to access those things. Like, world of a difference, babe. It's a difference between sitting in traffic for 5 minutes and 55 minutes. Okay, public transportation. So we have MARTA here, and I stated it in another video, but public transportation, in my opinion, in Atlanta is not like that big. It's not as big as other major cities like Chicago, New York, where public transportation is one of their main sources of transportation. But if you need MARTA access, if you want to go places without having to drive, or need to go places without having to drive, if you move to the city without a car, you need to be in the city, okay? You don't need to be in Lawrenceville. You don't need to be in Austell. You don't need to be in Decatur. Well, maybe Decatur, but you need to be where the MARTA is, babe. If you're trying to get from point A to point B without having a car, you need to be in the city. I would also say, if you're single, I would live in the city. If you're just looking to meet people in general, friends, potential, dating opportunities, you gotta be in the city. That's where the people are moving and shaking. Like, that's where the people are going out. They're not really going out in the outskirts unless they already live there. So I would say to give yourself the best chance at meeting someone, I would say live in the city, okay? I would also say in terms of living in the city, you do have quite a few different options. Like you have your high rises, you have your mid rises, you have townhome options in the city. There's a lot of options. If you want that real luxury, like you want the floor to ceiling windows, you want that look, the views, oh babe, you need to be in the city of Atlanta. You need to be in Midtown. You need to be in Buckhead, okay? That's where you need to be. If you like walkability, the city, okay? The city. Midtown is probably going to be the most walkable neighborhood. I think West Midtown is relatively walkable too, but if you're looking for walkability, the city is definitely going to be a lot more walkable than, let me not say that, because I know people are going to be like, oh, I walk around my neighborhood and go in that. Like, okay, that's not what we're talking about, y'all. We're talking about being able to walk out of your apartment or wherever and be able to have a bunch of places within walking distance at your leisure. Like a spot right downstairs from your apartment, a pizza spot right here, a nightclub right here, a Publix within walking distance. Like that's what I'm talking about when I say walkability. Let's get into some cons of living in the city. So the cost of living is going to be significantly higher in the city than it's going to be if you live in the suburbs. And I know, because I hear it all the time. I hear people comment or see people comment on my videos and they're like, why would you pay $2,500 for a 1-bedroom when you can live in Rome, Georgia and pay that for a 5-bedroom house? Like, listen. The people who want to be in the city, they don't want to be in Rome, Georgia. I can guarantee you that. It just depends on your lifestyle, really. That's what it comes down to. I would say if you're single with no kids, the city might be the place for you. There are some relatively affordable spots in the city, but it's a lot more expensive to live in the city than it is to live in the outskirts, just based on like convenience. A lot of times you're paying for locations, sometimes you're paying for amenities. It just depends on your lifestyle. Like if you don't want all those things and you want something more quiet, you know, maybe the outskirts is for you. But if you want that like that lifestyle, that Atlanta lifestyle, y'all know what I'm talking about. The city is where you want to be. Okay, another con of living in the city. Traffic is worse in the city than it's gonna be in the outskirts, and that's just, you know, that's just what it is. There are a lot more people in a smaller proximity. So traffic is always going to be worse in the city. It's always going to be worse if you're commuting to the city rather than if you're commuting outwards. Or if you're going through the city, you know, it's always going to be thickest if you're going through the city. So yeah, traffic is definitely worse in the city. Okay, so in terms of your living space, you get a lot less for the same amount of money in the city than you will in the outskirts, okay? My mortgage here, I live in the outskirts, y'all, okay? I live in a townhome, but I'm really a city girl at heart. Like, I pay about $2,100 for my mortgage. And that's before, you know, all the things like HOA, all of my utilities, water, pest control, my security system. My base mortgage is about $2,100, right? But that's for a 3-bedroom house, townhouse. Now, $2,100 in the city ain't getting you 3 bedrooms nowhere. Even 2 bedrooms in the city is like, it's a different 2 bedrooms, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, you get a lot less square footage for the same amount of money in the city versus like going a little bit further out and living outside the city. Before we start getting into like the outskirts and being in the suburbs, there are some places, in my opinion, that kind of give you a bit of a happy medium. So if you don't necessarily want to be in the city of Atlanta, like if you don't want to be in the heart of everything, if you don't want to be in the mix, but you also don't want to be like super far out, in my opinion, there are a few places that could work for you. Like Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, Chamblee. Those are the type of places I would recommend for that type of person who doesn't want to be like right in the city, but also doesn't want to be like super far out. Brookhaven and Sandy Springs are still like very close to the city and very accessible to the city. Like you can get from Sandy Springs to Buckhead in 10 minutes, you know? You can get from Brookhaven to Buckhead in like 5 to 10 minutes. So there are places that can work for you if you want to be a suburban girl who still has really close access to the city. Okay, let's talk about living in the suburbs. And I can speak to both of these because I've lived in the city and I've lived in the suburbs. Okay, in my opinion, the suburbs are a little bit more family friendly, okay? There's not as much going on in the suburbs as there is in the city. Y'all know the city is busy. Always on. A lot of the stuff you see happening on ATL Scoop is in the city, okay? Because the city moves a lot faster than the suburbs. So if you have a family, if you're looking to raise a family, I would say the suburbs might be a bit of a better fit. Unless you can find like a nice home in the city, but it's gonna be more expensive to live in the city, to purchase a home in the city. But if you are a family person and you're concerned about like school zones, kids, like if that's your main focus, I would definitely say suburbs all day. Marietta, Gwinnett, even Sandy Springs. So if that's your main focus, if your main focus is like, where are my kids gonna go to school? I need something that feels safe for them. Definitely don't come into the city, baby. Just go ahead and go to the outskirts, baby, because that's where you want to be. Lower pricing, definitely in the outskirts. Y'all just heard me say I get a 2-bedroom or 3-bed. I have a 3-bedroom home for $2,100, but I live 30 minutes outside the city. So it's like trade-offs, If you need space, if like space is your most important thing, if your family is growing, if space is just important to you, then definitely outskirts, because you can live in the city and get space, but you're gonna pay for that. Oh, best believe you're gonna pay for that. You're gonna pay for space in the city. So yeah, if you need space, like if you need the yard, if you need 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, the outskirts is where you want to be. The outskirts are also a lot more quiet. Like I said, you're not in the hustle and bustle. You're not in the middle of everything that's going on. Like, it's not a bunch of people around you all the time. If you want quiet, you need to go to the outskirts. My neighborhood is so quiet. You could hear a pin drop. I walked over to the mailbox the other day and I was like whispering. I was on the phone and I was whispering. So I was like, God damn, it's quiet out here. Like, you could literally hear a pin drop. I felt uncomfortable talking at like a normal volume level because it was so quiet. It's always that quiet. In the city, oh babe, when I tell you. So I lived right in the heart of the city in a high rise all day, every day. You hearing horns from cars, you hearing ambulances, you hearing Hellcats. Like, you're hearing a lot of just like city noises, but I loved it. And after a while, it kind of sounds like white noise, but you're gonna get a lot of that in the city. If you want something quiet, to the outskirts we go. Okay, let's get into some of the cons of living a little bit further out. So, commute time. I just told y'all, it's gonna take y'all a little minute to get into the city if you are going to the city. Now, if you don't commute to the city a lot, you have nothing to worry about. If your neighborhood is like if the places you frequent are within your neighborhood, I would say, don't even worry about it. You're not really doing a lot of like true commuting. If you only go to your children's school, if you only go to the football practice down the street, you ain't got to worry about. But if you're commuting to the city frequently, good luck. Another con, I guess it depends on where you live. Like, it depends on the neighborhood that you live in, but there could be potentially less entertainment options than there are in the city. I know in my neighborhood, like, there are maybe a few I have a lot of restaurants near where I live, but there aren't many like bars, lounges, or maybe 3. So most of the time when I go out, I have to commute to the city to do that. And most of the places my friends want to go are in the city. They don't want to come out here to go hang out at like some bar they ain't never heard of before. Now, a good alternative to something like that would be the Battery. Like, if you still want that entertainment, the things at the touch of your fingertips, I would recommend maybe moving to the Battery or somewhere nearby the Battery, because you can still access that. There's Cumberland Mall, you know, you have all the things at the touch of your fingertips. One of my clients actually just got a 2-bedroom apartment at the Battery for like $2,100. Literally, she can walk down to the Battery with her son. Now, with this client, it was very important for her to stay within a certain school district. She liked being in Cobb. That's what she wanted to be. She was very firm about that. So we found that apartment for her. It works, but it's around so much. Like, you kind of feel like you're in the city without being in the city, but it's still like relatively accessible to the city. So that could be a potentially good area for those who like kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. You know what I'm saying? Public transit, I'm not gonna lie. If you live in the outskirts, no. Just no. Okay? Just no. And then your long-term plans. Are you looking to settle into this neighborhood, or is it temporary? You know? I feel like most people who rent in the city, they stay there for 2 years. A year or two. You know? It depends. It kind of varies. When I was renting, I stayed at each of my apartments for 2 years before moving. In the outskirts, you might be a little bit more settled. You're like, okay, my kids are in middle school and in high school. I don't plan on taking them out anytime soon. I know that this is where I want to be. Then, yeah, that might be an outskirts play. Yeah, those are all things to consider. If you're moving to Atlanta, you're trying to figure out if you want to be in the city or whether you want to be in the suburbs. So, yeah, I don't want to keep talking y'all head off. I think y'all have an idea of where I'm coming from in terms of the pros and the cons of living in the city versus living in the suburbs here in Atlanta. Now, if y'all want me to talk about specific neighborhoods, comment down below. Comment down below and let me know what you guys would like to see in my next video. And if you're moving to Atlanta, if you're relocating to Atlanta in the next 30 to 45 days, all of my contact info will be listed down below. And I look forward to working with you soon. Talk to you guys later. Bye.